Good afternoon. It is Saturday, November 7th, 2020, coming to you live from the Lonely Tree Media Studios in Yakima, Washington. This is the Best Lamm Sports Show. I'm your host, David Lamm. With me, as always, is my son, Parker. Say hello, Parker.
What's going on, everybody?
And we're lucky enough to have a returning guest. It's our first returning guest. Why? Because so far, he's our only guest. But that's beside the point. Returning guest and longtime friend, Kurt Loyd. Kurt, welcome back.
Hey, fellas. How are you? How's everybody doing today? I'm tongue-tied. It's that kind of day.
It has been so far.
Plus, I'm about 3 Cocos and Fireball into this morning, so enjoy the show.
That's what makes it exciting. I mean, I don't think you can do this show without having a little bit of alcohol somewhere.
You definitely can't do this particular Saturday without doing some alcohol.
So, as always, we are streaming live on YouTube. We're on Twitter, at Lamm Sports, on Facebook under the Best Lamm Sports Show. And you can send us an email, lammsports@gmail.com, and check out our webpage, Lamm Sports. It's just lammsports.com. If you can't figure that out, it's Lamm Sports. And, you know, the best
I'm going to go right now. You know what? I don't think I've checked it out.
Well, there you go.
That makes me a bad friend.
You can find links on there to the past shows and the current trivia question, which will be up there as soon as this show is over. As always, the first part of our show is brought to you by The Range in Yakima. The Range is Central Washington's premier indoor shooting facility at 34,000 square feet. The Range is an all-inclusive facility offering firearm training, retail firearm sales and supplies, full gunsmithing and repairs, custom builds, and Cerakote services, all under one roof. Open Tuesday through Sunday from 11 to 7. Go see our friends at The Range, 1701 Garrettson Lane in Yakima, Washington. The phone number is 509-571-1449. The Range, educate, equip, and empower. So, guys, we have some stuff to talk about today. There was Monday Night Football action, Tampa Bay and New York. There was Thursday Night Football, Green Bay and San Francisco. The Monday night game was entertaining. The Thursday night game was not. The Timbers, getting ready for playoffs. Pac-12 is back today. In fact, one game's already in the books for the Pac-12. We'll talk about that. And we're going to talk about some ugly sports uniforms at the end of the show, if there's time, which I think there will be. You guys good?
Oh, yeah.
I think that's great. I'm ready to rip.
Okay. So we always want to start with our trivia question because we're going to let you stew on it, marinate on it the whole show, and then we'll give you the answer at the end. But let's do the trivia question now. So the trivia question, as always, brought to you by Stave & Stone Wine Estates in Hood River. With 2 tasting rooms to choose from, the Vineyard at 3827 Fletcher Drive and the downtown tasting room at 210 Oak Street. Go to staveandstone.com. Check out their gift baskets, perfect for the wine lover in your family. For more information, call 541-946-3750. That's 541-WINE-750. Or email them, info@staveandstone.com. Stave & Stone, wines with personality. Trivia question is football related. It's NFL related. Let's see if anybody gets this. The 1985 Chicago Bears were one of the most dominant teams in NFL history, going 15-1 in the regular season, 18-1 overall, and allowing only 208 points. Right, 208 points in their 19 games, which is an average of 10.95 points per game. Buddy Ryan's defense gave up only 10 points in their 3 playoff games, including the Super Bowl. My question for you guys is, who did they lose to that year? There's the trivia question. So
I wasn't alive then?
Well, you should still, I mean, this is your job. So, your side job.
Wasn't that the year that the fridge was in WrestleMania?
It may have been. The fridge was larger than life about this time. He became an entity all to himself, which...
He was larger than 4 lives.
It was a really large entity, yeah. But yeah, Walter Refrigerator Perry was one of those guys that is etched into football lore forever for being a lineman, defensive lineman / running back / pass catching phenom. I guess let's call him that. I don't know.
He would have been much more outstanding had we not just had John Riggins.
Well, I mean, it was pretty impressive to watch a guy that's what did they nickname him? Biscuit, because he was a biscuit away from 300 pounds. So. A guy that was 299 pounds running the football. I mean, granted, you only have to do it a yard or two. Who's going to get in front of him and stop him? I don't want that job. So
in high school halls, these are all insults, by the way.
Biscuit?
You call someone if that's the joke that they're a biscuit away from 300.
Yeah.
Yeah,
His
that might
coach-
get you in trouble.
His coaches called him that. His coaches, I think that was Buddy Ryan that came up with that. Said that he's a biscuit away from 300 pounds.
Those are just two fantastic players to have back to back in an age of a sport. To have two guys so fundamentally niche and still outstanding back to back like that is great.
Yeah, I miss the 80s. I mean, football wise, and we didn't have all this protection for all the quarterbacks, and we didn't have. I mean, it was a different kind of football being played.
Like right at the end of the block without panting and passing out. It was great.
Yeah,
I miss the 80s too.
yeah. It was. There's a lot of good things about it. So let's first talk about the elephant in the room and acknowledge that the election may have finally been resolved. And I say may have because I know there's about 100 legal challenges that are still to come. But as of right now, they're declaring Joe Biden the winner of the 2020 election. The question I have is what's going to happen from here? In anybody's opinion, is it going to be peaceful? Is it going to be relaxed? I mean, the legal challenges aside, how long before someone just says, "Okay, you win," or will he ever just say, "You won"? Anybody?
That'll never happen. I'm going to share a story with you, a real live story from the news that you should remember that I think will give you an indication of how Washington takes care of situations like that. Probably 5 years ago, some fella off the street scaled the fence at the White House and ran across the East Lawn and into one of the side doors and down and running through the halls of the White House. Obviously a grave danger to everyone else in the White House. And when Secret Service found him, they took him down, laid his ass out, and dragged him out to jail. So there's a real life story from the news that should give you a sense of hope that these things will work themselves out.
Well, I have a feeling that. So here's my question: when the president becomes the president-elect becomes president, right? And let's assume that the current sitting president doesn't acknowledge that and doesn't. What happens on January 20th when inauguration day rolls around? What happens when the new president I imagine the president-elect is entitled to Secret Service protection? Would I be wrong?
I think so.
In assuming
Oh,
that?
no.
I think
rest
they
of his
show up.
life.
Yeah.
Right, because he's the future president, right? But the current president is entitled to Secret Service protection. Am I wrong?
You are not.
Yep.
But I don't think Secret Service can step in if a crime's being committed, and the House can just simply call him a trespasser.
And all former presidents are entitled to Secret Service protection. So unless they decline
Are you trying to talk about a potential battle between two Secret Service
Right.
agents in the halls of the White House?
That's is what I'm picturing. How is that? Where is that movie? First of all,
I think
because
you've seen too many John Woo movies.
if you're if you're not listening, Hollywood, you should be. I don't know. I'm like, okay, so what if he just says, I don't want the president-elect in the White House. I'm still the president. I'm not letting him in. He can probably do that, can't he? Until inauguration day.
Yes.
I mean, it would be the wrong thing to do, and we all
Actually, that's tough because there are federal funds that he may try to hold up that are part of the transition. So I think that would fall under all that. Could he let him in the White House? Can he withhold those funds?
Right.
That'll be when you get that question answered, you'll know how things will shake out.
And you would think that, and I'm just saying, you would think that there's got to be some sort of, he might have to sign a document or two, right? The president-elect, he might have to actually do there's actually some procedural paperwork to becoming president. You don't just walk into the Oval Office and take over, right? I mean, you got to show your driver's license and your social security card, right? Your I-9, you got to fill out that form, right? Isn't that,
blood test, all of that.
You'd think somebody, HR guy somewhere, there's paperwork involved, right?
Gotta watch the training video.
Right, yeah, the sexual harassment video, you got to watch the...
I really hope they wheel out a TV on a cart with a VHS player. They slap in the training video. Some dude in some press khakis letting you know. So you're the president now.
Yeah, right. It's like from the 50s, right? It's one of those. It's one of those Cold War infomercial type things where they come on and say, So you've been elected president. Here's what you can expect. I hope it is. I would like to know that. That's a great story. All right, so I mean, I was just curious. I mean, he's gone over the top to tell you that was stolen. The election was stolen, and that he's been telling you that it's going to get stolen since the campaign. Well, heck, since the last election, basically saying that hey, the future there's always interference, and that people are rigging it against me. Right? He said that the last time and still won. This time, he loses, and so now he's feeling like, and he's, it's so the rhetoric is so that I want to go, geez, it can't. Not everybody is against you all the time, unless in this case there's about 5 million extra people that didn't vote for you, right? And how do you not just at some point acknowledge the fact that you didn't get as many votes as the other person? Oh, it's got to be rigged. They got to be coming in from somewhere. Oh, those late ballots, or they're making stuff up, or he called and complained to governors, Republican governors, telling them, what are you going to complain to the governor about? That he didn't rig it for you? So I don't know how to take it all and where he'll go with it, because it seems like if he's gone this far and over the top all the time, that he's just willing to go all the way.
Yeah, what I wonder is that, like, I wasn't alive when Nixon, had his whole scandal, but apparently what I hear is that there was quite a bit of disgust with, like, the presidency in the office. And, like, there's kind of like a distrust as Americans for a little while. But now it's a joke. Now you joke about Nixon, right? And I wonder how long before it's no longer disgusted about Trump's presidency, but we can start joking about it. And now, I mean, making memes, but like it actually just becomes a punchline constantly.
Right. And will we forget about Nixon if it gets worse? If there's something else that happens?
This is way better than Nixon. This is way more comedy gold.
I feel like that. Yeah. Okay. And then I don't know. What can the Postal Service go back to delivering mail now? Because can we just get a real Postmaster General back in there and not a Republican donor that we've hired to delay the mail intentionally for a year? I mean,
I would like the least of my problems to be getting my packages back from the neighbors where they were delivered.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like we could do so much. Anyway, I still mail stuff with stamps on it. I don't know about you guys.
You still put stamps on things?
Oh yeah, we mail the bills out every other week. We pay bills.
Mail your bills?
Not all of them, but yes, we have a substantial portion that we are paying into retirement for postal workers. We're helping support them. If you're not helping support them,
how are you 2 months and 40 years older than I am?
I am not saying it's not more convenient to do it electronically. I am absolutely saying that is true. What I'm saying is there are certain people in this 2-person household that prefer to do it that way. So you can draw conclusions from there. I'm just saying,
bless her heart.
There are plenty of stamps and letters headed out of this house. On a regular
basis. You guys
basis.
are single-handedly keeping the post office in business.
I think so. I think we're the only ones. And I'll tell you how long it's been since I actually went and bought stamps, and I haven't bought stamps in quite a while, but it's been a while since I bought stamps because I said something about it being 48 cents or something, and she goes, "Oh no, it's not. It's more than that." I was like, "What? How much does a stamp cost?" I have no idea because why? I don't
remember getting to 48 cents.
Yeah, I mean,
I think dropped out of mailing things at 36.
And this will tell you that maybe my other half is 2 months. She's 14 months and 40 years ahead of me, because she said, "Oh yeah, it's gotten expensive." And I
she knew and didn't warn you.
And I said, "Well, no." And I said, "What? 50 cents is expensive to send a letter somewhere?" I said, "You get in the car and try and take it over to their house. See if it doesn't."
It makes you rethink writing somebody. You're like, oh, all that effort, and now 50 cents.
It's only 50 cents. It's not like, oh my gosh. Anyway,
I mean, send them a text and they'll have it in 20 seconds.
But they won't have that tangible something they can hold.
Something that sits on the countertop of their house for 2 days, where somebody goes, "Why are we keeping this?"
Yeah, birthday cards. You don't have birthday cards? Don't you get birthday cards in the mail?
So
Just from
That's
your
actually a better question. What is
I
the
get birthday
stand? What is
cards from
the?
the Lambs every year.
See?
I think we all get them from mom, not the lamb. Mom. What's the okay period for holding onto a card before you throw it out?
That's a good question too. I don't know. I don't know what's the traditional. I mean, it depends on when those people are coming over. I mean,
that's a better point.
If you're going to see them in the next 6 months, you better hang on to that damn card. That's all I'm saying.
Oh yeah, I've been displaying it up here. That pug card that you got me was really funny. It's been up here this whole time.
All right, you know what we should do?
Talk about sports.
We should probably talk about sports on something a little lighter. Although that was okay. So let's currently talk about. I do an NCAA football update because that's why we're here, right? We want to talk about NCAA football. I don't know if that's true. Don't listen to me. But let's talk about NCAA football real quick. A top 25 action today so far, and I want to make sure that I've because something's happened here to my screen and it just went black, but now it's back. It has to reload. So give me just a second. I will tell you what has happened so far today. So final scores from top 25. Indiana, number 13, Indiana, 38-21 over number 23, Michigan. Michigan is 1-2 right off the bat.
Jim Harbaugh's getting fired this year.
Maybe today. I mean, you can't lose to Indiana. And who'd they lose the first game to? Oh crap! Now I gotta look it up. Thanks, guys. They lost to Michigan State. That's right. They beat 21 Minnesota. They lost to Michigan State. They've lost to Indiana. And their next game is Wisconsin, maybe. And we'll talk about that more in a minute. They've only got 5 games remaining, and like I said, Wisconsin's probably going to get canceled. But so they're 1-2, and left on their schedule still Penn State and Ohio State. So you know they're going to lose to Ohio State. This is a team that might finish 500. I would be surprised if he held on to a job. I mean, they're going to say, "Oh, well, it's a year, the COVID and blah blah." But you know what? I think he needs to go. He hasn't done anything for him. He's never beaten Ohio State, has he?
Never beaten Ohio State, and he's 3-3 against Michigan State.
3-3 against your arch rival, and 0-6. Well, 0-5 because they haven't played. But you know, you can't. I mean, you just can't hang on to people that are going to be. That's just that. Mm-hmm, you know what I'm saying? All right. I'm trying to get back to the scores, and it's not letting me do a dang thing here. Having some technical difficulties. You'll have to hold on to your Jets, guys, just a second. Hang on. God, I hate it when these things won't just go where I want them to go. SMU, number 18, SMU, 47-23 over Temple. Not that anyone cares.
I'm just going to stop you before you go too far into this.
Yeah.
That sentence makes my jaw drop.
Number 18, SMU.
When I was a teenager, we moved to Dallas, Texas, and lived not far from the campus of SMU. And we were there for the whole James experience and the whole death penalty.
Yeah.
In fact, last time I lived there was, I want to say Forrest Gregg. When they were you could just walk the chess team and put on a uniform and get the picture taken, and that's all they could do. SMU had no program whatsoever. So seeing a top 20 number next to the SMU Mustangs, I think will forever stop my heart for a second and make me think I've time traveled.
Well, I'll give it a couple weeks because they were in there and ranked. Well, they are 7-1, and they're 4-1 in the conference. But they without the Pac-12 and the Big Ten, the Big Ten's been playing what? This is the 3rd week, and the Pac-12 just starting. So without those scores, without those teams, I think they're maybe just a little overranked. But still, it's a good football team. They're not terrible. And
I'm just going to celebrate the Pony Express.
Yeah, I mean
nothing else. I have nothing else to celebrate. It'll just be the rise of the Pony Express.
There you go. Number 20 USC came back late with 2 touchdowns in the last 3 minutes to beat Arizona State 28-27. Arizona State just found a way to lose that game. USC was really lucky, which is actually good for the Pac-12 because that was the only other ranked team outside of Oregon is USC. And if they lose game 1, that wouldn't look good on the rest of the conference. Number 22, Texas is back, Parker. 17-13. 17-13 over West Virginia. Texas is 5-2. And number 25, Liberty University. I said that. Liberty University, number 25, beat Virginia Tech at Virginia Tech, 38-35. They're 7-0, Liberty. And while I don't think Virginia Tech is the team that they used to be, not the powerhouse that they were in the 90s, let's say, or early 2000s, it's still is a win over an ACC opponent. Liberty. This is Hugh Freeze's new team that, because he got thrown out of the old one. In progress right now, number 5 Georgia tied with number 8 Florida at 14, a minute 43 to go in the first quarter. Number 6 Cincinnati is leading Houston 7-0. That's early second quarter. Number 19 Oklahoma is up 2 touchdowns on Les Miles' winless Kansas team at the end of the first quarter. Oklahoma State and Kansas State are 0-0 scoreless with 5:10 to go in the first. Upcoming in the top 25 today, number 7 Texas A&M at South Carolina. Number 17 Iowa State plays host to Baylor. And then probably the biggest game of the day, number 1 Clemson at number 4 Notre Dame. Number 3 Ohio State plays Rutgers. Number 12 Oregon plays Stanford. Number 15 Coastal Carolina. I said Coastal Carolina. The Chanticleers are host to South Alabama. And then the Wisconsin-Purdue game got canceled, just like last week's Wisconsin-Nebraska game.
Classic Big Ten.
Excuse me. Ooh. Yeah, and then BYU last night was a big winner at Boise State, 16-3 at the half. They ended up winning 51-17. And then Miami managed to sneak out another one, 44-41 win over NC State at NC State. Miami is the most overrated and lucky football team I have ever seen. That's your top 25 scoreboard. The Pac-12 has some other games today, and that's UCLA at Colorado. It's at 4 o'clock on ESPN2. Washington State at Oregon State at 7:30 on Fox Sports 1. Number 12 Oregon is hosting Stanford at 4:30 on ABC. It's going to be the debut of new Duck head coach. Offensive coordinator, Joe Moorhead. Moorhead was fired from the Mississippi State head coaching job in January after leading the Bulldogs to a 14-12 record and 7-9 in SEC play over 2 years. So, Parker, let me ask you, what do you think we're going to get out of this new Oregon offense with a new quarterback, a whole new offensive line, basically, but the same skill players, wide receivers, running backs, and a brand new offensive coordinator?
I think that they've had extra time to practice. I think that they've been getting together for months now in open fields or on open campus areas and just practicing. I think it's going to be exciting to watch. I think Tyler Shuck, I think is the way you say his name, Tyler Shuck, is going to be really something to watch, and I think that they're gonna score more than we probably have over the last couple of years.
It would be nice to see them score more points. They look like they always have the potential to score more. I mean,
not start so slow, maybe.
Let's be honest. Well, see, I see two things there. Do you remember when Michael James was there?
Yeah.
That they always seem to start slow. The first half was a tie, or it was
maybe 14 points tops in the first half.
Yeah, 14-14, 14-7, 10-14, something like that was the halftime score. And then all of a sudden, Oregon gets 50 points, and you're like, "Whoa, where did that come from?"
All second half points.
All second half points. I don't like that. I want you to be ahead. Score those 37 in the first half, right?
Well, I liked watching those games more from a pure fan standpoint because they were more exciting. You still were invested at the half, and you were invested at the start of the third and all that stuff. But when they're up, 40 points in the first half, you're like, all right, I can start relaxing. I don't really have to watch the second half. I'm going to start cleaning the house and things like that. You stop focusing as much. So yeah, it keeps you invested. I like that a little more. I like it more when it's a little tight early, but it's frustrating. It's frustrating to watch.
It is frustrating to watch because you know what they're capable of, and then they don't do it, and you get all grumpy. But say, how come we're not scoring points anyway? Right. That was me. That's how I said. Also, today that Notre Dame Clemson game. Clemson's going to be without Trevor Lawrence, but will be on the sideline. He's awaiting some sort of cardio tests that they can't run or can't get the results back before Monday or something of that nature. So he can't play because of the ACC's medical advisory group requires all players who test positive to remain in isolation for a minimum of 10 days. But in order to evaluate for symptoms of myocarditis or other cardiovascular issues, a 3-part testing protocol is also in place that Clemson said can take an additional 2 to 3 days. In addition, the school employs a reacclimatization period, say that 10 times really fast, of at least 2 days to ensure players are healthy enough to return to action. That's why
it just means 2 days.
What's that?
It just means two-a-days.
Yeah, but he's got
reacclimatization. See, I said it. That just means two-a-days. That's get back in there.
Yeah, but
throw the pads on, run that hill.
He's got to do that for 2 days. So there's 2 days of that. There's the 2 to 3 days of testing of the heart testing and blah 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 blah. The 3-part testing protocol, and then the 10 days of isolation. So you're really talking about what? Almost 3 weeks. You're talking about 15. I guess it's a little over 2 weeks. Still, anyway, he's not playing against Notre Dame. Does Clemson have the ability to beat Notre Dame? I saw they struggled with Boston College, at least for a while. Can they beat Notre Dame, Parker?
Yeah, they're plenty deep enough. Notre Dame is a fraud. They've been a fraud for a long time. So I think that they're plenty deep enough. Notre Dame gets so lucky. And I know luck's a big part of the sport, but I don't care. Notre Dame is the luckiest team on earth, and it's all an Irish thing, I guess.
Yeah.
But it always runs short. Oh, they were super lucky. They won 12 games. They probably should have lost 2 of those games, and they get shmacked down by Alabama. So or LSU. Oh, was that LSU that year?
You mean crunched like a taco?
Crunched like a taco, like a supreme. Yep, just that's just who they are. They get lucky at these weird times. They make everyone believe, even though half of the country does not believe, and then they go on and lose an important game. This is an important game. They're probably going to lose this one.
Okay, I believe it. I don't know. The problem is it's on during the Oregon Stanford game, and I don't really want to divide my attention. I will, but I don't want to. And
I will not be.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to watch just to see what happens, but I don't want to be split. But that's okay. I personally think Notre Dame's gonna beat them. I think Clemson got lucky last week to beat Boston College. They came from behind. I think this is an actual better defense than the last one. Boston College's defense is not very good. This is a better defense. Whether the team is lucky and not worthy of being number 4 in the country, that's a whole nother thing we can talk about. But I think that their defense is
I think they're the best defense in the conference for points against.
Yeah. Notre Dame? Yeah.
By far, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. And that's got to play a factor when you're playing without your number 1 quarterback. But you're also, Travis Etienne is still there. They can run the football. I get it, but when you got a really, really physical defense and keep you in a lot of football games, I think that's what you're going to see from Oregon, is that their defense, even though they lost some players that opted out, that's still a very, very good defense. So that's what's going to keep Oregon in a lot of football games while they try and adjust their offense, get used to playing, timing and all that stuff. Anyway, we'll see. I don't know. Other games that were canceled or postponed due to COVID are Air Force at Army. I don't know how we're going to decide the Commander-in-Chief's trophy if we can't play Air Force at Army. Tulane at Navy. Texas San Antonio at Rice. UNC Charlotte at Middle Tennessee State. Florida International at UTEP. Louisiana Tech at North Texas. And Louisville at Virginia. There's a big ACC game. It seems to be, it seems to me to be spreading. And then, of course, we haven't even talked about the fact that Cal and Washington, Arizona and Utah, both those games have been canceled by the Pac-12. Out of a 6-game season, you've already got 1 canceled. So now there's only 5. So what does that mean for the conference in terms of trying to get someone into the college football playoff if we can't finish just the 6 games that you had scheduled, which were minimal?
Doesn't look good, man. They got to play their games, or they need to find a way to reschedule. You're not going to convince anybody that you're a legitimate conference or that you're a legitimate threat to anybody else's conference with only having 5 games.
Right.
It's not going to happen, especially when some of them are important games. Utah's a really good team, so that's a big matchup on your thing. Washington's supposed to be pretty good. Cal's supposed to be pretty good. That's a big matchup. That's sitting there waiting. Are you gonna play this game or not? Okay, no. So now you look at the next 5 games and they're all garbage. Well, that was your one big game. So It kind of sucks that you lost that one out. Yeah, you got to play all your games, but they got to find a reschedule. Just canceling games, it's not acceptable. It is a weird year, and people will kind of forgive it, but they won't forgive it in the sense of letting you into a playoff.
Right. I don't think the college. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think one thing that I just a conversation that I haven't heard, and it's a legit conversation to have. I come from the perspective of the business of college football, and the business of college football says you have these multi million and sometimes billion-dollar media contracts that you have to fulfill certain things, and you've spent that money. That money's come and it's been dispensated as it will. And so at what point, because these guys aren't playing, they're playing the game because they love to play the game, but the schools and the NCAA aren't playing the game because of the pride of the university athletic departments across the, it's not any of that. They have to fulfill certain things. So at what point does that stop and just the basic health considerations of students start? And are we there, or are we headed that direction? Are we moving away from it? That's kind of the bubble conversation to everything else that's going on in the middle of it.
Yeah, I think what I see happening, and I could be totally wrong. I've been watching sports for a number of years, and what I see is that the NCAA in general, as an organization, does not care about those athletes. They really don't. What they care about is putting a product on camera. And I say that meaning it could be any product, whether it's the NCAA basketball tournament or it's the college football playoff, putting something out there that people are going to watch, and that advertisers are going to pay money to advertise it, right? So if for some reason, and I'm just saying, because right now Cincinnati, Coastal Carolina, Liberty, Marshall, and SMU are all ranked at the same time. I don't think that's ever happened before. But let's just assume, for the sake of argument, that the world blows up in college football. And what you're left with is an undefeated Liberty team and an undefeated Cincinnati team. And nobody else is undefeated. Well, Cincinnati's already the number 6 team in the country. They're going to get in the college football playoff. And who wants to watch Cincinnati? The University of Cincinnati play football. Do people at Ohio State? No. That's not happening. And they're in the same state. So I feel like that product, they want these certain teams to be in it. And here's our list of 10 teams that we would like to have in it. If anybody else is in it, it'll be a disaster. And I wonder if it gets to a certain point where you cancel enough games or enough games get ruined, will they just say, oh, well, the Pac-12 has canceled 8 games already. They're out. We're not even going to take their game. Whoever their winner is, we're not going to take. Will that happen?
But they don't have a choice. They have to put that product out.
Right.
They've signed those contracts.
Sure.
That time is set aside, and that's worth a lot of money.
Sure.
Network time. They have to put a product out. So it's not even a thing where they. I think they'll go to the last extreme in any situation, including the one you just posited. They'll go to the absolute end of where they think they can get something legitimate on. They won't just discard a conference because they haven't played enough games, because potentially, who on the West Coast is going to watch 2 ACC teams or a Mid-America Conference team play somebody in the Carolinas when USC is sitting out.
We absolutely love action.
So they're going to keep their claws and everything they can until they exhaust all their options for putting out the content they are required to put out.
Yeah.
I'm a bummer, but that is 100% the truth.
Sure.
About what's going on in sports across the board right now.
Sure.
And it's not to diminish sports. It's to really examine the priorities of the business of sports in a time when, you may have never considered that you would be in the middle of the plague, but you are. And
Yeah.
This is how we react to it. And we need to think about those things as sports fans, I think.
Yeah. Parker, what's your take on how the NCAA treats athletes versus, how do they treat the athletes in terms of using them to get where they need to get?
Oh, it's fairly obvious what is happening. It's not an exchange of services for compensation, really. It's not fair when you consider what of course what they bring in versus what they get. It's always, as far as I've been around athletics, it's always been really, really shady, really one-sided business. It's always the needs of the team, and that's what they preach. They preach, do it for the team. Help the team out. What are you doing to help the team today? It's always about the team and not about the individuals. And with that in mind, it's more about what are you doing to make us money today? And it was that way, at PSU was really big because they don't have a lot of opportunities to make money. They don't play a lot of big teams. They're not that great. So when you don't have that many opportunities, you have to capitalize. You can't have star players sitting out. You can't risk losses because somebody can't play. So we need them to play. When this whole thing started, they had to cancel their games this season against Oregon State and Arizona. And they immediately sued, or the Pac-12 canceled their games. They immediately sued because that is their budget. That's what sustains their life is these games. And I'm sure it's similar in other conferences. You have to put something on the field. You have to meet your agreements, and you have to support all these other sports that don't make money. And the NCAA and the schools, as much as they want to be pro player and they want to feel like they're contributing, they're going to support you through a bachelor's degree, which we all know doesn't mean almost anything anymore. You're not competitive until you have a master's nowadays. So maybe this should be a 7-year thing. Maybe it shouldn't be a 4-year thing. Maybe we should see you through a doctorate. So we're actually putting out competitive people as well as competitive athletes. But that's not the goal here. That's too much sunk money, and it's just going to be too much effort on the part of the universities. Until something drastic happens, nothing's going to change, and they're not going to support the athletes anymore.
It's a yeah. I don't even know where to go with it. The NCAA, in my opinion, doesn't do enough to protect. It doesn't care enough because they're on the next man up, philosophy, which is this team or this player is out. Okay, well the next guy needs to step in, and the next team needs to step up, and we'll just move along, and we got to put out whatever we got to put out. And because of the way, and you're right, Kurt, because of the way these TV deals are all done now, and it's all ahead of time, and you're all we signed a deal for the next 8 years. Well, you don't even know that you're going to be a conference for the next 8 years. I mean, really, you do, but you don't. You don't know what's going to be happening. You don't know if you're going to expand. You don't know if you're going to have less teams. Anything could happen. But you signed these contracts so far in advance that basically you're, as a conference, you budgeted out the money already because it's all revenue. We paid you up front for it, right? And now you got to do something. You have to, Major League Baseball was in the same situation. They had a TV contract. You have to put out so many games. The NBA has to have their market TV markets in their regions had to put out so many games on TV. Otherwise, they were in breach of contract. And, they don't, at this point, just care what it is. Just got to have a game. And this year's a lot different than normal. I get it because everybody's got issues, but my goodness, we it would be nice if, when I said I like the 80s, the 80s was better. We weren't nearly, it's the same stuff, kind of, but it wasn't nearly as obvious or blatant, or, you know what I mean? I didn't feel like you could look through it and go, oh, this is clearly because they want money. There's a reason why we had LSU and Alabama play football in a national championship game again after they played to a 9-6, the first game. There was a reason why they got voted in again, even though one was clearly already beating the other one, and we knew they were better, and they're in the same division. So, anyway, that kind of stuff. That's the kind of stuff. Isn't
that a funny thing about our times now that we have right now in this conversation vaguely anti-capitalist Tom Joad style conversation, and we reference the 80s to talk about how much better it was.
I feel like there were people in the 80s that were referencing the 50s at the same, right? Oh, so much better in the 50s. Back when we had leather helmets. Anyway, let's talk about basketball for just a minute. The NBA and NBPA announced that the National Basketball Players Association Board of Representatives voted Thursday night to approve a plan for a December 22nd start to the season that includes a reduced 72-game schedule. Clearing the way for the league and union to finalize details on a 2020-21 season. The NBA draft is also scheduled for November the 18th. There have been no trades in the NBA for 9 months, which is unbelievable. It's unbelievable. So, who's the first person that's going to get traded
in the NBA?
Yeah,
Rajon Rondo.
Where's he going?
A team that needs a little bit of veteran leadership at point guard.
You can't be vague. I need a team. You got to tell me.
Oh, I'm thinking. The Pelicans would be a good place for him to go.
It's recorded.
Because because they're going to try and talk about getting rid of Drew Holiday.
It's true.
And they could bring in somebody like Rondo, who's got, he's got seasoning, so he could be really helpful to their cause. Although I think that's a downgrade from Drew Holiday, but they've already put it out there, the desire to possibly trade him. So I say Rondo.
What would cause Rondo to leave the Lakers?
Well, being traded.
Well, traded
would cause that. Yeah.
But I mean,
yeah, being traded would be if he
why
from
would they,
free agency.
Why would
nothing.
Why would
Absolutely
they get rid of
nothing?
Why would the Lakers get rid of him?
Or because he demands an extremely high salary.
Well, yeah, I guess that's true.
Yeah, he's a vet with a couple rings. Yeah, he's expensive.
But you knew that going in when you hired him already.
When he had a couple, he had one less ring. Yeah, you knew
That's
that.
true. That's true.
He's worth too much money.
Yeah, you can't call yourself a fan of the NBA if you don't immediately look to the current champions for the first people to go when free agency opens up or the trade opportunities open up. You always gut one or two expendable guys so that you can shore up where you think you need to shore up and defend. But there's no trades that go on until somebody leaves the current champion.
Why do we think that the Lakers need a point guard, nonetheless? Anyway, when you know the ball's going through LeBron anyway, 9 times out of 10, why you
don't need that bill. You don't need the Rajon Rondo bill when the ball is going to go through AD and LeBron.
But they got him anyway. They went out and got him.
Right, because they didn't know about the chemistry yet. They got him prior to the development of the team, and once it was fun. And Rajon had a terrible regular season. He had a great finals, but the rest of the playoffs he was meh. So he's definitely older. He comes with a high price tag. You can get a young guy. You can develop him. Maybe you find your future, and it all costs a lot less than holding on to So
what about Giannis?
I've heard this talk. I don't think he's going anywhere.
You don't think so?
I don't.
You think he's disgruntled in Milwaukee?
Well, I don't think Milwaukee's going to trade him, one, so that's not going to happen. And two, he's probably a little disgruntled, but everyone hates losing.
Sure.
You get in the gym, you work out, and then you get back to it. Try and win next time.
Yeah. Well, they could have. He could demand a trade.
He could. And then you have no choice. It kind of sucks.
If he wants out, you know what I mean? If he wants to go somewhere else. I don't know that he's going to do that, but plenty. I don't know if there's a team out there that wouldn't take him. There are probably teams that can't afford him, but I don't think there's a team out there that wouldn't take him if they could afford him on their team. He'd be stupid, right, to not take him?
The Lakers are the only team that wouldn't take him if they can afford him, because he would overset 2 positions that are already good.
Right. Well, that may be true. Yeah, you're absolutely right. So how do we feel about Portland in general? The Portland Trailblazers need what? If they can go out and get one player in a trade, one position, what is it?
Drew Holiday. Get Drew Holiday for CJ McCollum. Make it a straight swap and see if they'll do it. Bring in some defense. You lose a little bit of offense, but you keep Dame. You keep the guy who's making your team a name. You bring in the needed piece, which is guard defense. We don't have it. Dame and CJ are they're just worthless on defense.
Okay. I don't know. I feel like trading away. Yeah, I feel like they're going to have to eventually trade away. They're not going to trade away Lillard.
One of them.
They're not going to. I don't think they're going to. Unless he demands to be traded. I don't think they're going to trade him. I think
he's too valuable.
I think you have to get something back better than better in another position. Maybe not better at the position you're trading, but better at another position to make yourself better. Because if you're just going to go trade this guy for this guy and you're swapping offense for defense, is that going to help the team enough? Taking away the offense and helping them on the defense, will that help? Is that enough? Or is it better maybe to upgrade a different position? If you can find somebody that's willing to trade you that needs a guard, to trade for a small forward or a medium size, let's call him a mid-sized forward, that can play some defense. Because that's
the priority is defense, yeah.
That's a position that they're really lacking in, is someone that can guard those 3-4 players effectively. Right?
Well, for whatever reason, they decided to trade away Mo Harkless, who played some of the best defense they'd ever seen at the the 3-4 position, but I hate the Blazers do this all the time. They're like, oh, we're going to get rid of Ed Davis. Ed Davis played lights out for 2 years. And yeah, they took him to get what they could while they thought he was hot. But you trade away a great defensive piece. Mo Harkless, again, he's a little injury ridden, but he played fantastic defense. And you trade him away, and then you're wondering why your team sucks on D. Neil Olshey. Can we trade Neil Olshey first?
I don't think that's possible. I mean,
I don't know.
Executives have been traded before in things. You traded coaches before, but I don't know that you can trade a general manager. No. I don't think the general manager will pull the trigger on trading himself. So, but anyway.
Got to sign off on it.
Yes, someone's got to sign off on it, right? I don't know. We'll have to see. So, long story short, NBA draft's coming on the 18th. LaMelo Ball's in there, just FYI, in case anybody needs a ball.
And nobody cares about LaMelo Ball.
Okay, they're touting him as like one of the top picks, man.
LaMelo Ball, he does seem pretty good, but
he's the
I'm
guy.
not buying it.
I will say this about LaMelo Ball: I hear him less than any of the other Ball family. You know what I mean?
No.
I don't hear him, so I don't hear him talking trash like I hear the rest of the Ball family when they talk. You know what I mean? So maybe he does, and I just don't hear it. But he seems to me like the indication of a better player, a better person overall, that isn't one that just sits and is all blah 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 blah. So, but anyway, what do I know?
You think the Ball family's all blah 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 blah?
Well, most of them, yeah. I'm just saying, not all of them, clearly. But anyway, long story short, Kurt, I'm going to put you on the spot.
Oh, geez.
Okay, so what is going on at Boss Kitty that we need to be aware of?
We're in a blind panic. We're in the middle of a plague, and it's getting cold outside. Skies are gray.
Yeah.
But I think everything's going to be all right in the end because the world still has lovely, beautiful, hand-dyed squishy yarn from BossKittyShop.com. We're actually having a trunk show on Black Friday, and for people who don't know what a trunk show is, and listen, maybe you don't knit, maybe you don't crochet, maybe right now you're just scratching your butt and thinking about football, and you're like, the last thing I need is more socks. You know somebody who knits or crochets. I guarantee it. There's just way too many of them. They're insidious. They're an infestation. Knitters and crocheters. They're everywhere. Open the cupboard, 6 of them spill out. And the holidays are coming up. You need gifts. So BossKittyShop.com is the place to go. Also, turn them on to BossKittyLive.com. I say that to get all the way back around to the fact that we have a trunk show on Black Friday. So Black Friday at BossKittyLive.com. You can actually tune in on your computer or on your phone. I have music. This is awesome. You can tune in at BossKittyLive.com, and we will be we'll have everything that we have at Boss Kitty Shop available at 25% off. So you come in, you go, oh, I really like that, and while you're there, you get a code. You go to BossKittyShop.com. You put together your cart, and on checkout, you put the code in. And boom, 25% goes right off the top. That's pretty good. That's what we would give a store if we were at the store doing a trunk show. So we're calling it a trunk show at BossKittyLive.com. There's a knitter and a crocheter in your life, if not 8 or 10 of them. So you can shut them up by going to one place, BossKittyShop.com, and buy a bunch of stuff. Make me and my wife happy. Send us on a vacation. Thank you, David, for the time.
Hey, you're welcome. And that is Boss Kitty, yarn so boss, you'll knit your pants. So, one of our favorite sponsors, and I I appreciate you just letting us use your name. That's all.
Sure.
It's fun. So
use that tagline too. That's really good. I appreciate the marketing opportunity.
You're welcome. Okay, so second half of the show, we're going to talk a little bit about NFL football. We're going to change our tack just a little bit here. Monday night, if anybody watched it, Tampa Bay defeated the Giants 25-23. There was pass interference. I will tell you this. This is how I'm going to phrase it. There was pass interference on Tampa Bay's Antoine Winfield in the end zone on the Giants' 2-point attempt They had scored to make it 25-23. They were going for 2 to try and tie the game. I say he got there early. You listen to these people tell you that, oh, well, at the same time and blah, blah, blah. He impeded that guy's right to catch the football. And he was not looking for the football. He had his arm out. It hit him in the arm. But it was right after he made contact. Parker, was it pass interference?
Absolutely. And the biggest cop-out phrase in the NFL is bang, bang. I am so sick of hearing that. Yeah, I get it. The sports are fast. You gotta watch. I get it. That's why we have slow motion. That's why we have to be able to break it down to however many frames per second. We can see that he was there early, pretty clearly. So if he's there early, why is it not pass interference? That's what pass interference is, when you get there before the ball gets there and you're not actively making a play on the ball.
And I listened to the, professional on the broadcast immediately that said, in this situation, at this time, because of the nature of the play, that the no call was the right call. I'm like, wait a minute. So there's a different situation that if this play occurred, it would be pass interference? That doesn't make any sense.
That situation is not when the referee has to actually make a decision for the game. Right.
The situation shouldn't matter. What situation? The situation is the pass interference call. It's not the fact that the other team is trailing by 2 and they're going for 2. And somebody threw the flag. If you're going to throw the flag, how are you going to talk someone out of it? Well, they got together and he didn't have the best angle. No, there's pass interference. He got the call right. There was one guy out of 8 that got the call right. I realize those other guys weren't involved in that decision, but at least 3 of them were. And the huddling makes it worse. Am I wrong? When the referees huddle?
I'm over the officials getting together in a circle and talking it out.
I understand about getting the call right, but I'd rather you call it and have the wrong call, right? Because this is what I saw, than throw the flag and then pick it up and say, oh, there is no foul because we decided that we don't like that call. But that's not okay. That to me is it's been going on for quite a while, but it seems to have gotten worse. You know what I mean? In the recent last, 10 years? That seems to be a thing, that referees are huddling all the dang time. In addition to the replay huddling and I don't know. Again, this was better in the 80s.
Are you saying officiating's are worse now than it was?
I think so.
Back in the day.
I think so.
Jesus, you are, without a doubt, the oldest, shortest memoried human being I know. Officiating's been crap since day one, since a guy put on a striped shirt and a bow tie. It has been absolute crap, and that's the way that it should be. It should be absolute crap. You should just have a guy with a whistle, just one. Yep. You don't need a whole bunch. There's 13. That's why you have a huddle, because there's 13 guys and they all want to get on camera. I don't care. Bring in the chain guys. Let's all big group hug. I just want one guy with striped shirt and a whistle, and if he blows the call, he blows the call. Game's over. Awesome, great. Let's go back like Art Donovan. This would be the league that Art Donovan would play in. And if the official blows it, you just punch the official when he's not looking in the parking lot, and no one talks about it next week.
Right.
Modern sports fans, I think they're just looking for stuff to complain about. Let's just go all in on the idea that officiating sucks and just let it suck. It's part of the game.
Yeah, I think you're right. Just that's that, and I've been trying. Hold on, and I've been trying to tell Parker that exact thing for I don't know how long. That baseball is better because officials blow calls. That you can't get them all right, and it makes it more interesting when there's a missed call and there's perceived bias or whatever. You know what I mean? Because that just inflames the fans and it gets them talking and it's good for little controversies, good for the sport. So
what good is being a sports fan during your life if you can't take stuff to the grave? Like blown call, if it's against your team, you will take it to the grave.
Sure. And
so that's part of being a sports fan. So just feel blessed that you got it. Shut up.
Right. I think you're right. I think that's a perfect way of doing it. So that brings me to this.
What the hell's going on out here?
So Vince Lombardi, did you guys hear that clip?
Yes.
Yeah, that was Vince Lombardi.
I thought he was there for a second. I was about to greet him on the call.
That was Vince Lombardi back in the 60s, letting you know that's the officiating. That's how bad it is. Anyway, that's kind of the way I feel. I mean, obviously there's been, everybody's going to complain about it, and they've done things to try and make things better. But some of the rule changes and some of the things that we're doing are not good. And I'm going to hold on for just a second. There is a really vicious helmet-to-helmet collision in the Georgia-Florida game. Wide receiver for Florida trying to catch the ball. Georgia trying to knock it loose. I can't see the two players. I don't have their names. It was one of the most vicious helmet-to-helmet hits I've ever seen. This is probably going to be targeting and an ejection. Yep. So we got an ejection on the Georgia defensive back. It was vicious, and it looked for a minute like both players were out, just knocked out. And it was one of the worst. If you're watching, it's on CBS. He had caught it and barely put both his feet down, and the Georgia player came in, and the Georgia player's helmet came off from the violence of the collision. He hit him square head to head. The Florida player may not have been out for more than a second, but that Georgia player was out when he hit the ground. It was vicious. That was a really bad hit, and it's been going on. We talked about it last week, Parker. Remember we were talking about the NFL hits on the quarterbacks?
Yeah.
It's a violent sport. You can't eliminate violent hits. That's going to happen. But there's no reason to hit a guy in the helmet, helmet to helmet. There's no reason to go up there. That's not a good tackling strategy to go up high. They never tell you to tackle them up around shoulder pads. My coach yelled at me all the time. You can't tackle a guy up here. So anyway, it looks like both players are okay. Concussion protocol because they took his helmet. So anyway, just when that was defensive back for Georgia hit cornerback named Line, number 16, hit. It was just a vicious hit. Anyway, you guys will see it later. Watch it on the replays. So let's talk about the other play that happened in that game on Monday night, which was Cameron Brate, the tight end for Tampa Bay, who caught a ball and was running near the sideline and then literally lowered his head and destroyed Isaac Yiadom on the sideline. Yiadom was bracing for the hit, and Brate literally lowered his helmet and delivered the blow, initiated the contact. And of course, they called a penalty on the defender. So I want to know, my question is, when are they going to start calling that? Like last year, they started calling offensive face masking for the last couple years, which they'd never done before. I mean, that was a thing that you didn't even hear about, was an offense getting called for a face mask. And now they started calling it. When are they going to start calling these plays when a running back or a wide receiver lowers his head and delivers a blow?
They're not going to. They're not going to until someone gets really hurt.
Yeah, the first time one of them gets knocked out.
Well, but it's happened before. That's happened.
Yeah, it's well. So no, they need someone to. So all of the targeting stuff. It all started. Do you remember when it started? It was Eric LeGrand, Rutgers.
Yeah.
The kid who got paralyzed from the neck down.
Sure.
That's going to have to happen to somebody before they realize, okay, there's another issue. That's how the NCAA, that's how the NFL, that's how all of these things are. Somebody has to have a real problem, not a concussion, but a real problem before they realize, okay, maybe there's an issue here.
It's vicious. I mean, some of these hits are just so bad. They're so blatant. And what do you do as a defender if you don't have time to react and get down lower than the guy? You let him run over you? Stand up and let him run over you? I mean, you're going to lower your shoulder. That's a natural reaction. This guy's lowering his head and his shoulder coming at me. I'm going to do the same thing. Even though I'm not running at him, he's running at me. I'm going to get the penalty because I hit him in the head? That's not fair. So how do you fix that?
You don't fix it. I mean, it's a systemic issue. If they don't want to fix it, they're not going to. The fixing it is easy. You teach players better. You penalize heavily when they screw up. That's the way you fix it.
Okay.
Right? That's the only way you can fix it. Otherwise, you outlaw the sport. Because people are it's going to happen.
Sure.
The nature of bracing for an impact or bracing for a hit, you're going to do it. So unless you penalize heavily. I'm not talking about one suspended game, not talking about half. I'm talking about you're suspended for the rest of the season, and you're not eligible to gray shirt or red shirt. You just lose the year.
I feel like they're not doing. The guys is under the protection of the athlete, of the player, right? That's why we eliminated the defenseless. You making this guy defenseless. We eliminated helmet to helmet. We're trying to eliminate you launching into a guy. I get it. I understand what you're doing, but you're clearly not trying to protect everyone if this call doesn't get made, right? Because this call
not trying that hard
is a clear-cut indication of a guy bracing for impact and getting hammered. You know what I mean? He wasn't trying to deliver a blow. He was just trying not to get run over.
Well, the coaches will tell you they train all those guys. You're an offensive ball handler. You are trained to lean forward and get as much ground as you can. So, it's going to come down to finding new ways to teach these guys how to play that position.
That would be great. Players are so big and so fast now that I think
they are.
There's no way to avoid any of this stuff. This stuff just happens. But you've got to teach the basics, which is tackling guys at the waist, putting your shoulder in their midsection, when you go to tackle, instead of playing for that big hit, which you see so many times. That's what defensive backs do anymore. They don't try and tackle anybody. They're just trying to hit a guy. And that's what happened in this Georgia-Florida
game. Trying to blow them up, create a fumble.
Yeah, trying to create some big play, but it's really not, it's not okay, and they need to fix that somehow. I don't know. Anyway, it would be nice, but the players are so big and so fast that the collisions are so much harder now. Anyway, even the regular collisions have so much more impact because of the size of the athletes. So, what are you going to do? All right, so long story short, that game was really close. It was really exciting. It was a good game to watch if you watched it on Monday night. At least I thought it was. Right up until the end when I started ranting about pass interference to your mother. I'm sure she loves that, by the way. She's the only other person in the room. Who else are you going to rant to, right?
That's how ranting works. There needs to be somebody around.
Right.
Otherwise, you're a crazy person.
Otherwise, you're just crazy guy ranting for no reason. I pass that guy on the street every day. But anyway, Thursday night's game, which was, let's admit, it was awful. Green Bay beat San Francisco 34-17, and it was a worse than that kind of game. It was 34-3 Green Bay before a pair of late touchdowns by San Francisco. Green Bay wide receiver Devontae Adams had 10 catches for 173 yards and a touchdown. San Francisco wide receiver Richie James, who had 9 catches for 184 yards and one of those late touchdowns for San Francisco. But how bad is it for San Francisco when you think they've hit rock bottom and then they add another layer of rock to the bottom? And I'm like, it just seems we have this many injuries. Okay, but we're going to play through it. And we actually won a game, right? San Francisco won a game, right, against an actual opponent, a good opponent, because they had won. This is the worst 4 and 5 football team I've ever seen. I mean, they won 4 games, but who'd they beat? They beat the Jets. Okay. They beat the Giants. Okay. I mean, their wins are not quality except for one. And I thought they had turned a corner, and then COVID happens and shuts a couple players down, and they're working with players that, like I said, who's Richie James? I never heard of him before Thursday night, and there he is.
And he was a third round draft pick.
He's
not nobody.
He was Chase Claypool, right? He was this week's
Chase Claypool's the next Megatron.
Yeah, this week's Chase Claypool was Richie James. So every week we got a new guy, and you go, I have no idea who these guys are. I have no idea. I haven't heard of them before, but they're clearly not terrible. Say again?
It's like the strike season.
Yeah, that's what it feels like. There's so many injuries. And now I think there's I want to say Green Bay has a positive COVID test. And I know that Cincinnati does. And I know that I can't remember who else. It's spreading again. So there was like 4 or 5 teams that have reported new COVID since the weekend. So since last week.
If they keep finding out games and keep losing players, we are destined, like I said, for about the strike season, to have another Vince Papale story.
Right.
Who's going to be the guy that rises up and becomes the star of that moment in time?
Yeah, we might have a whole bunch of them because each one of them is going to end with a COVID shortage or an injury because everyone has a hamstring hurt. I was sitting here reading through the injury report for the Niners, and they have like 6 guys that were out for hamstring injuries. And I'm thinking you should probably get a different trainer at this point. But maybe it's not the trainer's fault. I don't know. Maybe what do you do? If everybody's coming up with the same injury, what's going on? That just seems like a lot. But what do I know? Anyway.
If you're going to have the practice squad on the field for every team, they should have just shut down the NFL and used NFL money to keep the XFL afloat. Because at least it would have been guys that we never heard of.
Yeah.
But it would be guys, entertaining stuff with colorful jerseys and cute names on the back.
It would have been more exciting to watch XFL football with guys I don't know than NFL football with guys I don't know. Right?
That's true. NFL football is more frustrating. You want names.
Right. You need those. That's what draws people to watch. If those guys aren't playing, if Jimmy Garoppolo is out and he's your Niners quarterback, and all of a sudden you're watching Nick Mullins, it is not the same football. It's not. If you're not watching,
I'd argue it's probably better. I don't think Jimmy G's that good.
If you're not watching Dak Prescott or Andy Dalton, and you're getting Ben DiNucci, it's not the same quality. I mean, and you're still charging the same amount for my, ESPN Plus subscription to watch football. You're still charging me the same amount to watch, whatever. The things that happen in this, they're still getting the same amount of money from CBS. I'm assuming to cover football games. The price of everything didn't come down that's sports related, memorabilia or apparel. I'm still paying the same price, but you're giving me stuff that it's Ben DiNucci. Right? He's going to be a footnote in history, in NFL history at some point. He's not going to be even a memorable moment, Ben DiNucci. Right? Am I wrong?
I don't think so. I mean, maybe, you never know. I mean, that's how some of these guys get started.
It's a story for the grandkids. I was there. I watched Ben DiNucci.
I remember when Ben DiNucci came in. Gosh, he was terrible, but he picked it up.
Anyway, I predict that the Cowboys are going to pretty much suck the rest of the year. That's not just on Ben DiNucci. That is a lot of injuries piling on together. But anyway, would you say the 49ers? So the 49ers are 4-5. Are the 49ers or the Rams the worst team in the NFC West?
49ers.
By a long stretch?
By a decent stretch.
I enjoy watching the Rams, whether they're getting their butt kicked or squeaking out a loss. I enjoy watching the Rams. The 3 times I've caught them so far.
Yeah.
I watched 2 49ers games and I didn't make it through either.
Yeah. Yeah. The Niners are hard to watch.
Team.
All right. So we're halfway through the season, Parker.
Yeah.
And what we're going to do now is talk about
playoffs. Don't talk about playoffs. You kidding me? Playoffs?
What I want to talk about is the playoffs. So, are we going to have who's in it? Who's going to be who's the team from the NFC that's going to the Super Bowl?
Seahawks.
For sure.
Russell.
I mean, there's
Russell,
no doubt.
No one else in that league is playing that way. Is playing that well. I mean, yeah, they lost a squeaker to Arizona. Tampa looks vulnerable at times. Their defense is stellar at sometimes and not at others. The Seahawks are great. Their biggest question mark is their defense, but it's still not a big enough question mark to really make you concerned. But we'll learn a lot here soon because the Seahawks have played a lot of really trash teams so far. They have somehow, for being a really good team, managed to get a real cupcake schedule.
So not Green Bay and not
Green Bay. No, Green Bay is going to pull a Green Bay. They're going to lose in the first or second round of the playoffs. New Orleans probably going to be second in their division behind Tampa.
Okay.
No, I'm not. There is nobody that concerns me more than the Seahawks across all of football right now.
Okay. And that's possible. I'm with you.
I swear on my 42-year-old Jim Zorn jersey that your kid is right.
Yeah, I mean, if Jim Zorn was still on the team, I'd go with that.
He's the smarter Lamb. I just might I'll just call him Parker and call you a dad.
Yeah.
Well, that's dad because he's the smart one. I've just elevated him up the ladder.
Right.
Well, I mean,
first name and everything.
Let's be honest, he's not even the favorite child. So there's that.
Oh, we've had that discussion. Yeah.
Yeah. So
still working on that.
Chelsea, if you're listening, you might not even be there anyway.
I'm going to tell you that none of here's the way we've decided it. None of my 3 children are the favorite child in this house. So anyway,
Austin. Autzen
It's-
is the
it's-
favorite child in that house.
It's I'm gonna be honest and say it's probably Cassie.
She's
But
gonna be a
anyway.
doctor. So that's a big deal.
Right, we have to get on her good side so she won't fix us when we break. So yeah, I think. Okay, so how about the AFC? If we're gonna pick a team from the AFC, does that make it harder, or is it the Chiefs?
It's Chiefs. Pretty simple.
That was it, huh? There's nobody better in the AFC. It's not gonna be Pittsburgh.
We want a lot of discussion on it, and I know that's kind of our function here, but there isn't. There just isn't. It's the Chiefs. They're kicking everyone's butt, and when they lose, it's only because they themselves decided they were going to lose. It has nothing to do with anybody else.
So what you're trying to tell me is that the undefeated 7-0 Pittsburgh Steelers are not as good as the Kansas City Chiefs that are 7-1 and lost to Las Vegas.
The 7-0 Pittsburgh Steelers are as fraudulent as the ballots in their states.
Wow. I mean, Allegheny County, wake up. So, did you see the meme? And this is totally off topic. Did you see the meme that, or somebody sent about learning the counties, the Pennsylvania counties at 3:24 in the morning?
No.
Oh, yeah, there's a guy who looks like he's freaking out because he's learning about all of the Pennsylvania counties at 3:24 in the morning by looking at that dang map.
I've seen so much of that map lately.
Right? So I'm just going to say this. The Steelers have beaten the Titans and the Ravens.
Yep.
By a total of 7 points.
Yep.
The Browns, the Eagles, the Texans, the Broncos, and the Giants. So those other 5 wins are not any good. I'm not going to put
it. Now the Broncos have won 3 of their last 4.
The Broncos were terrible at the beginning of the season. No matter what you say
right
about them now. The Steelers' next 3 games are the Cowboys, the Bengals, and the Jaguars. This team's going to be 10-0.
Yeah, they're going to walk into the playoffs feeling pretty good, and then they're going to get shamacked by an actual good team.
And I'm just telling you, after that, it's Ravens, the Washington football team, the Bills at Buffalo, and that could be a good one, at the Bengals, Colts, and then at Browns. There is no reason they can't go undefeated.
They're going to win. They're going to lose 4 of their last 5.
There is okay.
You heard it here first.
Okay, right. Hold on. Maybe.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I've just been handed an urgent and horrifying news story.
So, Parker says that the Steelers are going to lose 4 out of their last 5. Is that what you said?
Did you just use an Anchorman clip?
I mean, maybe. So, I mean, it is an urgent and horrifying news story, is it not?
Yep. 4 of their last 5 they're going to lose.
So all you Steelers fans all the way, and I know we have Steelers fans that listen to this, by the way. And
just 1.
At 2. There's a whole couple. And, yeah. So I'm just saying that, wow. So what you're saying is they're going to go, what, 12-4? Or they're going to lose before then?
Oof. No, I don't think they'll lose before then. I think they're going to go 12-4.
Okay.
I think the last few games are just going to be pretty rough for them.
And just kind of squeak in as the division winner into the playoffs? Yep. Okay.
Yep.
And then
just lightly walk their way into it. Yep.
All righty. I will believe it when I see it. How about the Dolphins? Anybody on the Dolphins bandwagon? They're 4-3.
Yeah.
Okay. I hear a lot of silence. A lot of crickets.
About the Dolphins.
I still think that the Tennessee Titans are the best team in the AFC. And they may not play like that all the time, but I still will tell you the Tennessee Titans are the best, most complete football team in the AFC. Defense, running, passing sometimes. But I feel like that when Derrick Henry is Derrick Henry and their line is blocking, you can't beat them. So there's that to look forward to. But I mean, we're going to sort it all out eventually. But we're halfway through. So I would pick the Steelers right now. I would still tell you the Steelers are going to win because as you win and you get confident, and you're unbeaten, you tend to get more confidence. Even if you weren't that confident to begin with, the fact that you get to a point where I know they're going to be 10-0, right? Unless something drastic happens, 10-0 breeds a lot of confidence, and you get better just from being more confident. So I don't know, but I guess we're going to see. So who wins it all? You guys, one pick, one name. Who wins the Super Bowl this year? Either one.
Seahawks.
Okay. Parker?
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna stick with the Chiefs. I think they repeat.
And it'll be Seahawks Chiefs in the Super Bowl is what we're saying. Is what we're the official word from the Best Lamb Sports Show is that what you
Two
heard
hardworking teams. Two hardworking teams.
You heard it
And
here
it'll be a fun offensive show.
and everyone on the East Coast will love it.
Yeah, screw 'em.
Okay, awesome. Right, who's the league MVP? Is it going to be Russell Wilson?
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
miles ahead right now.
For sure.
Okay, all right. You guys are making this. I mean, this is supposed to be some debate, some talk. You know, I want one of you guys to come at me.
Come after me!
Sometimes
I'm a man! I'm 40!
See, I want that to happen. I want to be able to yell that at you and mean it. But right now we're all in agreeing, and it's just terrible for radio, by the way.
sometimes there's just not a whole lot to say. Sometimes it's pretty cut and dry, or sometimes you just need more information.
Maybe that's what we need is more. We need a bigger sample size. Is that what you're trying to say?
Exactly what we need.
Okay.
Much bigger.
We'll talk about it again. I mean, we're going to talk about it every week, so we're going to talk about it.
Oh, yeah.
Again. So let's switch topics, and we're going to talk about the Timbers real quick. The Timbers remain on top of the Western Conference by points. They have played 2 more games than the other teams that are around them, so there's a chance for the teams to make up. But they are 2 points ahead in the West, despite losing to Colorado 1-0 at Providence Park on Wednesday night. Kellen Acosta came off the bench and scored in the 83rd minute to help Colorado clinch an MLS playoff berth. That makes 6 times this year that the Timbers have given up a goal or goals, multiple goals, in the 75th minute or later that led to a draw or a loss. There's 11 points that they've left on the table by not playing defense or being unable to defend a lead or at least maintain a tie late in the game. So they have one regular
They're
season.
officially a Portland team now.
Yeah, that's a hallmark for sure. There's one regular season game left tomorrow at 3:30 against LAFC. That game's on ESPN Plus if you want to watch it. The MLS playoffs start on Friday the 20th. It is hard to watch. I watched them play a game, and they sometimes look like they're uninterested. And usually when they're ahead 1-0, is they start to get uninterested. I'm like, how are you not invested in this game when you know in the last 20 minutes the other team is going to do everything they can to try and score that equalizing goal?
They just don't seem to really want it at times. I always say that all the time, and it's a weird way to say it, but there are teams that want it and teams that don't, and they get down. I don't know why they do. I don't know why they feel like they don't have to try as hard at times. But late in games, they're just like, we'll coast, we'll be good. And
Hunger teams close.
Right.
So,
yes.
Yeah, okay.
They're not hungry.
They're not hungry enough. I mean, they could be way, way, way out in front in the West, and they're letting teams hang around and not putting it away. All right, so I got something we want to talk about. We've decided we wanted to talk about, and we got just a little bit of time, so let's do it real quick. And that is the worst pro sports uniforms in history. And there are a number of them. And can you guys, and I say this because we haven't checked this out ahead of time, but can you guys see my screen?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm about to show you.
I know one of them.
Yeah, I'm about to show you some bad uniforms, and we're going to talk about them briefly. So here you go. Are you ready? We're going to start with the University of Tennessee's decision to go with the black uniforms, the black jerseys, with the orange pants and the white helmets, which was a terrible. They wore them, I swear, one game.
I feel like you're wrong right now. I feel like that's not a bad looking jersey.
The jersey's not bad. It's the fact that they didn't put black pants with it or a black helmet. You went with the orange pants, the black shirt, and the white helmet. You used all 3 colors in 3 different places on it, and it looks like a mess.
What you're missing, Parker, is looking at the guys break huddle and approach the line. The minute all those guys get down in that combination, it's ungodly awful to try to pick through.
Ungodly awful that might be the right term for it. And then on this, if you can see here, it's also the 2011 Denver Broncos throwback uniforms with the Willy Wonka, the Oompa Loompa pants.
Those are great. Those are terrific.
The brown and yellow. Oh, those are hideous. And then
That's god awful.
the San Antonio Spurs had a military tribute, and they went with the camo, the desert camo, digital camo uniforms, and those are awful as well.
I'm not as against that either, man. I just have terrible taste.
You might. That might be true. I'm going to show you some more, so hold on to that thought. Let's go talk about hockey for a minute.
There they are. Those are my least favorite jerseys ever. Those Canucks jerseys.
The Vancouver Canucks jerseys.
Oh my God! The late '70s, early '80s things are just awful.
Those Vancouver Canucks jerseys are from the '80s, and that was.
It's like
remember?
Padres fielded a hockey team.
Do you remember that they actually went to wearing pants in the NHL for a little while? Remember the pants, the full length pants instead of the shorts?
Oh.
They were awful looking. And also on this screen you're seeing is the Montreal Canadiens in their barber pole uniforms. Those were a throwback to the 30s or something.
Which I kind of like.
They're very colorful. Let's admit that. But I don't know like is the right term. Okay, so here's some football ones for you, just to swap it up. So you're looking at Texas Tech, the Red Raiders, with this hideous color combination and this pattern on the back of their pants, which I have it almost looks like their pants are all wrong. And I can't figure it out.
It is Tech. It could be.
Yeah, it looks awful. And so then you also have the Pittsburgh Steelers throwback uniforms, which honestly I kind of like.
Yeah,
I think it's
great. The numbers.
I think it's the Yeah, I like the numbers. I think it's the mustard pants, the gray poupon pants that they're wearing. That don't quite.
I'm a fan.
Okay, how about the Jacksonville Jaguars and their gold fiasco?
I didn't think they were that bad, but they wore them against the Titans a lot, who were wearing a really pretty blue. Yeah. I just think that was a bad call.
Well, it was those helmets where they couldn't. They tried to gold/black a helmet. What is that about?
It's called ombre.
I know it's what it's called, but this one isn't. Though.
Get with the times, David.
This one is clearly not ombre. This was black and gold, and those two don't match. They don't. You can't fade into black from the gold. That's not okay. They look terrible. The helmets look terrible. And then, of course, if you're seeing this, you're seeing the Florida Gators with their Gator uniforms.
Your uniforms?
Yeah,
those were the worst.
Those Gator, because the colors are orange and blue, and now you put it on a Gator print shirt, and it looks pretty hideous. And the green socks.
Those are terrible. Terrible.
Those are pretty bad. Okay, let me see what else I got here. Let's go to baseball. So, Pittsburgh Pirates went with a big pirate on their jersey.
You know what those look like?
For a couple games. What's that?
Remember back in the 70s, David?
Oh.
Yeah, Halloween costumes that you could get. Like, you got a pirate costume, right? And it was this thin plastic sheet that was printed on that you tied around your shirt, and then a plastic mask. And if you were a pirate, you'd have a pirate mask, but then there'd be a picture of a pirate on the little thin plastic covering sheet.
Yeah, it was pretty.
And that is 100% what those are.
Pretty awesome. And we're looking at a Kansas City Royal disaster there from Johnny Damon. That is absolutely hideous, whatever that is. I don't know when they wore those, but they clearly did. And the gold helmet with the yellow shirt and the blue sleeves looks ridiculous.
Royal.
Yeah, it's royally bad. And then, of course, if you're looking at the one on the right, that is the Memphis Redbirds having their Memphis, Egypt night.
Classic.
So they went with the
Great. I accept for Christmas. I know the holidays are coming up. I accept.
That uniform with that collar thing it's pretty hideous. I don't know. Okay. So I don't know, guys. Here's some more. So on your left is
that's got to be a curling team.
That is the Norwegian curling team from 2014.
Yeah.
And those are the uniforms.
They can wear whatever they want. They look great.
Those are the uniforms they wore for the opening ceremonies. And I'm going to say I would wear that. I would wear that if I was part of the team.
100%.
Not out and about, but I will wear that as part of the team in the opening ceremonies of the Olympics. Yes, I'm doing it. It is still pretty hideous, though. Let's admit. And then the Orioles with the all orange.
Not terrible.
It's not as terrible as some of the other ones. It's not as good as some of the other ones either. I'm gonna show you my favorite right now. Okay, this is my nomination for worst sports uniform of all time. This is the Muskegon Lumberjacks on
class.
on beach night.
Their jerseys look like they don't have sleeves.
Their jerseys are tank tops. It's a whole jersey, but it's an arm with a tank. It's a tank top on with a flowered lay, and they got flower print shorts on. Yeah, that was on beach night for the Muskegon Lumberjacks.
Oh, Lumberjacks.
Isn't that is and by the way, minor league hockey has some of the best promotions, and not saying
that is one step away from being an Ed Hardy jersey. Just missing the tattoos.
Then why didn't they? That would have been smart, putting the tattoos on. I'm going to show you one more minor league hockey one just for fun. So this one is
that is terrific.
This is the holiday uniforms for the Las Vegas Wranglers from 2010.
Oh yeah,
the Christmas
big fan.
It comes with the beard on the jersey, so that you don't have to wear one. Yeah, I don't. I suppose as a one-time thing, it's probably fantastic. It is probably, and if you wore them and then auction them off for charity or something, I'm behind you. But it's pretty terrible. I mean, those are some pretty terrible uniforms. Am I wrong?
I just think you don't know fashion.
I don't know
really
fashion.
good.
That's probably it. But Kurt and I talked about this, but here's two of the worst. I'm gonna I saved them for last. So you're
76 Chicago White Sox.
The Chicago White Sox, and that's Goose Gossage, by the way, wearing the softball uniforms that the Chicago White Sox trotted out for that year. I don't know how many guys got strawberry, raspberry all over their leg.
It's my favorite team photo of all time.
And then there's Dave Winfield for the San Diego Padres with the brown and yellow combination that should never, ever be allowed to be a combination of colors. But it is. And it was. And that was not even these two uniforms, this is like a whole season they wore these things. That Padres multiple seasons.
Well, you also had the Astros, and those were horrifying.
The striped
is
ones?
Is that still a Bill Veeck Chicago White Sox team, 76?
Yes. That's why you saw the shorts.
There you go.
Yeah, that's a promotion, more or less, right? So I don't know, but I feel like these uniforms, the Chicago ones, I don't mind it. I mean, but it's not functional for baseball, so I don't mind but it has a collar on it too. And who wears a collared shirt?
It was 1976. I want you to pull a picture of your family from 1976. Tell me who doesn't have.
I wasn't playing baseball in it, though. I mean, okay, wiffle ball maybe. But I wasn't playing baseball. I wasn't playing professional baseball in a collared shirt. Nobody's done that. It's the only team ever, maybe since the 1800s, that's done that. Anyway.
It might have been
it just feels like we've progressed a lot.
What? Parker?
I said it feels like we've progressed a lot in uniforms.
Yeah, I feel like we're doing a lot better than we used to. All right,
Butterfly will be back. I predict.
I don't know. All right, so let's get back to the trivia question. Stone Wine Estates sponsored our trivia question. If you forgot it, the question was the 1985 Chicago Bears went 18-1 and won the Super Bowl, only allowed 10.95 points a game. Who did they lose to that year? Who beat them? Handed them their only loss. Do you guys have the answer?
Can you tell me who's on the schedule?
Well, all of the NFC North.
Right.
What
was that one division that they played where they played everybody from another division?
It was the Central at that point in time.
Oh, that's weak.
The NFC Central, because they didn't have 4 divisions. But
who else was really good at that time?
I'm not going to give that away for you because I think that's a gimme if I start telling you what division they played.
Well, I don't actually know, but I know that some teams were really good. The only 2 teams I ever hear about from that period of the 80s are the Dolphins and the Bears. I don't think it's the Dolphins, so I'm going to go with let's go with the Packers.
See, that's a good choice. They played the Packers twice that year because they're in the division, right? Yeah. Well, they beat the Packers 16-10, 16 to 10 and 23 to 7 in their 2 meetings with the Packers. But you were on the right track. It is absolutely, yeah, you were on the right track. It is absolutely the Miami Dolphins.
Oh man!
On December 2nd.
Monday Night Football, yeah.
Yeah, December
That's-
2nd, 1985, Monday Night Football. The Dolphins beat the Bears 38-24. So let's stop and think about that for just a minute. They gave up 208 points in 19 games. 38 of them were to Miami. So that's amazing. That's just an amazing. The rest of the season, the highest any other team got was 24, and that was the Vikings. And it's just, that to me is a defensive, just crazy defensive team that Buddy Ryan put together. You know all those guys, Mike Singletary, and on and on and on. And here, if you don't remember those guys, do you remember this song?
Oh my
Uh,
God.
Super Bowl
Video
shuffle.
right now.
Hold on.
We are the Bears, shuffling crew, shuffling on down, doing it for you. We're so bad, we know we're good, blowing your mind like we knew we would. You know we're just.
Oh, the Super Bowl Shuffle from the Chicago
Classic.
Bears. Classic.
I hear the guy on the right there in that photo owns a steakhouse now in the Flamingo Hotel.
Dan Marino?
I don't know what else he's doing, but I hear he owns a steakhouse.
I mean, he's wearing his isotoners and driving around. I don't know what he's doing now. But, yeah. So let's give you a quick update. Dan Marino's my all-time favorite player, by the way. And so that was why what prompted this particular trivia question. So, in case you guys want to know. Let's give you a quick update.
He's not very good.
He's not bad. Let's give you a quick update on college football before we leave. So, in progress at halftime, Florida is trouncing Georgia 38-21. Number 6 Cincinnati at the half, 28-10 over Houston. Number 19 Oklahoma, 31-3 over Kansas. Kansas did score, so there's hope. That's at the half. Kansas State is up 12-0 on Oklahoma State. Number 14 Oklahoma State at the half. Number 16 Marshall, we saw that they already won 51-10 over UMass. Nobody really cares. And then we have a lot of games still to come. We're kind of in that lull in the middle of the day before the evening games start playing. There are plenty of games out there to watch if you want to watch one, but Florida has taken control of this big-time SEC game. And then, of course,
Okay.
Oregon and Stanford play at 4:30. That's on ABC if you want to watch it. So all the remaining Pac-12 games are on a network. So the Colorado game's on ESPN2, and then the Oregon State game later is on Fox Sports 1.
Did the Pac-12 networks just disband right now because they're not playing any of the games?
Well, I would imagine that the Arizona-Utah game would have been on there.
No, none of them are. Not a single game is on the Pac-12 network.
Well, I'm just saying that they would have been, but they got canceled.
In a regular season. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
But
Well, that's what I'm saying though. Is like you still have Pac-12 games being played. How are you not airing them on your network?
well, they're all going on bigger networks. So ABC, ESPN2, Fox Sports 1, and then the Fox had the ASU USC game this morning. So
Right.
for some reason that was a big deal. The first week of the Pac-12 being back, everybody wanted a game, I guess. So maybe that's what happened. I don't know. Usually, yeah, you can see all those games on the Pac-12 network because nobody wants to watch it, and nobody on the East Coast is going to stay up that late. And,
That's right.
and can we just get rid of the Pac-12 after dark thing? And why can't we just call it Pac-12 Prime? Pac-12 Prime.
Well,
Prime
because
Time.
it is after dark even here.
Well,
it's
but there's
a
a lot of
7:30 to
teams.
8 o'clock kickoff.
But
It's
they-
real late.
But when the SEC does it and plays a late game, they don't call it SEC after dark.
But their latest game is 7:30. Or no, wait. Their latest game would be like 5. No, I guess they have had some primetime ones at 7:30, haven't they?
play some games. I'm just saying.
It's infrequent. It's infrequent.
Casual viewer. The casual viewer will see Pac-12 after dark, and they'll stick around hoping that the halftime show is as great as it sounds.
Right.
I don't think it's a age-restricted viewing at that point, unless the game gets out.
Well, you don't have to tell them that. That's
Well,
just
that's
you get them in for half the game. They'll stick around for the rest of the game. Some of them will come back. It's called bait and switch. Yeah, it's bait and switch.
I agree with that. All right, guys. So that's all we have for this week. You can join us next week. We're going to talk more about the NFL, the results from this weekend. We'll talk about NCAA football and the Pac-12 and how we feel after one sort of week in the Pac-12. I mean, 4 of the 6 games are being played. And then MLS soccer as they get ready for the playoffs and the playoff brackets are set. Of course, we're going to talk about COVID-19 because it's not going away, which is now the time to put in your PSA to wear your mask, keep your distance, don't go places you don't have to go and just be hanging out. Keep yourself safe, wash your hands. What else am I missing?
Be nice to people?
Be nice to each other. Yeah.
Tough enough out there without being a jerk, so
it doesn't matter what religion or what color they vote for, because we've all broken that down into color too. Be nice. Just be nice to each other. There's no excuse not to be nice to each other. Right? All right. So there's my soapbox. I'm done. Okay. All right. So again, we're live streaming YouTube every weekend. We're on Twitter at Lamm Sports, on Facebook, The Best Lamm Sports Show. You can email us, lammsports@gmail.com. We want to thank our sponsors, The Range, Stone Wine Estates, and especially Boss Kitty Yarns. Another shameless plug.
Yarn, so you'll knit your pants.
You will. That's absolutely probably more socks or a scarf than pants, but
it doesn't work.
Yeah, it doesn't work. No, I know. And by the way, one more quick update. Maryland in the third quarter is up 35-7 on Penn State. Wow. Just FYI for you sports fans out there, because Penn State looks terrible. All right, and we want to thank Kurt Loyd, also known as Tech Kitty or TK.
That's me.
If you watch the Boss Kitty stuff,
sports fans, if you want to know that officiating has always sucked, go to YouTube and type in Hank Stram, and then just deep dive and enjoy.
Hank Stram was not afraid to tell you about it either. Them about it. Anybody about it. He'd tell everybody about it. So yeah, no, you're right. That's absolutely a good choice. You'll see a whole bunch of clips, audio clips. Anyway, thanks, Kurt, for being here. We appreciate it, and
Parker Lamm is the best.
We hope to have you back.
Best of all of this.
Maybe not now, but we hope to have you back soon. This has been a Brain Rock production. It's the division of Lonely Tree Media LLC. Thanks for listening.